Hey everyone, and welcome back to Coins Alert. This is Rich, making another movie about XRP today. As always, I hope everyone is having a great day today, no matter where they are in the world. Now that we're going to talk about XRP, X has changed into Mythbusters, where everyone is trying to bust different myths about XRP. Let's begin with this. XRP and XLM are rivals in one way. The truth: XRP is mainly used for cross-border business liquidity. XLM is aimed at market transfers and the release of assets. There are different goals and uses for each. I agree with that. But Ripple is shifting its focus to some of the uses that XLM has, and XLM is shifting its focus to some of the uses that Ripple has for XRP. The price of XRP will go through the roof, because tokens will be burned. In reality, transaction burns are very small. Adoption and availability will cause prices to rise, not less supply. I also agree with that. Think about what people want and need. Third myth: XLM is just a copy of XRP. Even though some of the founders are the same, XRP isn't just about payments. It's also about decentralized banking and easy access to money. You can do more than just pay with XRP. Think of the XRP ledger as a coin. The EVM sidechain and smart contracts are now here. But XLM is very nearly a copy of XRP. Because they were so alike, Arthur Brito sued Jed McCaleb. I always see it this way, but I think they're pretty close. They also run together. Myth 4: XRP isn't really being used. The truth: XRP and on-demand liquidity corridors are being used by banks and other financial companies to cut costs and speed up transfers. Plus, Ripple has partners too, using XRP as well. Think about the capital of Orrington. 50 trillion and $50 million are moved with XRP. This has been done before by other Ripple partners. Myth 5: you can only send money with XLM. In reality, XLM supports stablecoins, CBDCs, and asset tokenization, so it's used for a lot more than just sending money. Which one of these shocks you the most? XLM, as I already said, made a big move towards CBDCs. Also, XLM was made to be tokenized, just like the XRP system. They're alike, but they're not at odds with each other. If you own XRP, you should really own XLM instead. Also, if you have XLM, you should also have XRP. That's how I see it. But I like the thought of busting some of these myths. They say that market cap is a myth, and make the case for XRP to hit $33. I agree with this too, because XRP doesn't care about market cap. Utility is important. I've also made movies about this before. I even use Grok to show that market cap isn't real. But I like that he's talking about a $33 XRP, because that's very close to going over Bitcoin's market cap. XRP might become the most popular altcoin. That's what I really think will happen in this run. Along the same lines as market cap, David Schwartz says that XRP needs to be a high-priced altcoin. He even says at the end that a more valuable product is a better way to make payments, at least if you want to make high-value payments. That's the reason XRP costs a lot. So how does XRP get there? A lot of people would say that the IMF and the BIS already decide how much XRP is worth. But think about how XRP is locked up in those huge liquidity pools. Think about how the banks are now, that they have finished trying the private ledger. It is important for them to have XRP at a better price from the start, so that it is easy to move a lot of value. What then takes place with market cap? Market cap doesn't matter. As I said, here is a lot of information about ISO 222 from Bob Way, who used to work for Ripple. His voice is likely someone you should pay attention to. He has also talked a lot about ISO in the past. Ripple's bank sales team is very benefiting from the 222 change, because it means all banks have to adopt new technology. Banks don't like change, and are already making an act. They don't like the change in the way things are done now. When things change, new problems can arise, which means that bankers are fired. This is something banks like plug and play. That's what Ripple has too. The banks are going to make their own processes better. They are going to hire other banks to do what banks do. They keep your money safe. They lend it. They lend money. They get a lot of loan payments, like mortgages, car payments, and bills. They take care of money like banks do. Their job is not to work on software. That's why Ripple has a great answer. It's all plug and play, but you have to make a 222 change. The person you're dealing with barely needs to know how much a product costs. The money for building has already been given to other things. As long as you follow the rules, you won't get fired. To make the sale go through, that's a big help. This is the main reason why most bank mergers don't happen. It's expensive and risky to make a new method. When mistakes happen, banks can lose money or get fined. Bankers are fired. You need to know how much chance the other person is willing to take, and their product budget. They need to be ready to risk something. Still, selling software to banks is still hard. Even more so since the SEC suit is still spreading false information. But banks won't have to wait for a payment because their 222 upgraded system makes it much easier for Ripple to connect to them. That's how Ripple gets banks to work with them. A simple change that doesn't cost much and works right away. This is how Ripple takes Swift's business. Ripple will get at least 10% of Swift's business this way, because Swift is going to make it hard. Swift doesn't want to update at all. Take a look at that. Because Ripple is already ahead of the curve on this, Swift doesn't want to do any of it. Where do you think the banks will go? Vincent Van Cote said this. I want to get right to the point and explain what the private XRP record is all about. That's why he says XRP is just code. Here is where you can get the code for yourself, and you can. This code can be seen in the XRP ledger public record, which is kept safe by a group of validators. People who own XRP have decided that this public ledger is the main ledger, and that the XRP on this ledger is the real token. People who own XRP buy tokens by transacting a value. All of that makes sense to me. Some people think that there is a private record that is run in secret and is based on values. However, there isn't such a thing. I think there are 1,000 or 1,000 times as many copies of the XRP system that people have downloaded and use. Oh, I see. I already have 3 of them on my virtual machines, he says. The only thing I don't agree with is that the banks are definitely trying out the secret ledger. Here's Brad Garlinghouse telling you about the secret notebook. One of the first banks Ripple signed with, so we have a product on the market today that is getting version 4. Putting out version 1.0 was a big deal for us, which is always a thrill for tech companies. Version 1.0 is here. We put that product on sale. A big bank in the Middle East teamed up with us, and we went to market and went live. And a very angry Middle Eastern lender called us and said, "Wait a minute. People can see what I've done. I don't want other people to see my deals." To sum up, blockchain is strong, and a public record can be used to complete deals. But banks, I wonder if SEB would be happy if every transaction was recorded in a public book. I can tell you for sure that the answer is no. Because of the way our technology has changed over time, XRP is a public open record. A different part of Ripple's tech that lets banks connect to liquidity options. You can't see these. It's kind of like a secret short-term blockchain between 2 banks. It signs the deal cryptographically, holds an escrow, and then releases it all at the same time. That way there is never a time when a deal doesn't go through. After that, is it just code, or did Ripple make something else for the banks? A different kind of bookkeeping. David Schwartz also said that the prices of XRP are the same on both the public and private ledgers. Listen to this. The question is whether XRP will have the same value on private and public ledgers. Yes. The thing that makes XRP